Pretty amazing, wasn't it? I feel like I'm at this amazing party, and it's all so wonderful to have you all gathered here together. And I want to welcome family that traveled from Florida, California, Minnesota, friends, colleagues, supporters of Cambridge Health Alliance. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this special night with me. This has been a long year between the sadness of Sandy Hook and the Boston Marathon. I am energized. I think we're all energized tonight by our coming together as a community, knowing we have our setbacks and we move forward. Anyone who knows me knows that I occasionally will have a crisis of confidence, and yet I also have an unfailing optimism that comes from looking for signs, affirmations that tell me that I'm on the right path. I want to share with you some of those tonight. First of all, I want to bring you back to January. And for any of us who work in schools, we know January is a cruel month. It's a month when June feels very far away. And if our kids are struggling, it's the moment of us coming to realize that we have to reboot and think things through. So I was invited into a school where there was a second grader who was spending 60% of his time lying on the ground, not participating. And when he would get up, he would either get in a fight with another kid or throw his coat across the room, and the teacher had tried all her bags of tricks. The mom was frustrated from coming back in, and we had a team meeting where we were trying to figure out how do we intensify services. And those kinds of meetings that I've been to over 20 years, they're high stakes. We're talking about a child and where they will go. So that particular meeting, I left sort of thinking, gosh, I don't know if I'm really making the kind of difference. I gave the mother a copy of my book, The Behavior Code, which is about how to work with oppositional anxious kids, and I tried to make up some suggestions, and I walked out of the school and I said, I need a sign. I need a sign that what I'm doing is effective. We all have those kinds of days. And the next day, because that's the kind of life I live, I go into these really intense situations and then I kind of go back into academic world. And so there was this, I was the course director for the Harvard School Mental Health Conference where people come in from all over the country to sort of hear experts talk about various topics. So I was in this meeting, my beeper goes off. So I burrow into my bag, I take out the beeper, and I see a phone number, and it's from Cambridge Health Alliance. And I walk outside, and I call, and it's Patrick Wardell on the phone. Now, I've worked 20 years at Cambridge Health Alliance. No CEO has ever called me on my beeper. Now, again, if anybody knows me, I'm kind of a catastrophizer, so I think, okay, I'm being fired or something disastrous has happened. And he says, congratulations. Congratulations. I'd like you to accept the art of healing. I said yes, and that was my sign. So, my next thing that I want to talk about, which Henrietta briefly talked about, was the marathon. The marathon for me, on a personal level, I've run 12 marathons, 10 of them have been the Boston Marathon. So I knew where that bomb went off. I knew what it was like for the runners and for the spectators. And when I woke up on that Friday morning, and my husband told me that the alleged terrorists had been at my beloved had been attended the high school where I'd worked at for 20 years, and that there was going to be a lockdown. I was mystified. I didn't know how to make sense of that. And then to have friends of mine be impacted by an act that is so incomprehensible was devastating to me. So what was the sign? The affirmation for me was going into the high school on that Sunday with the superintendent, with the principal, and meeting with the staff. And all of us having devoted our lives to keeping kids safe and knowing that we had to put aside our fear and move forward to take care of students. And that is what schools do, day in and day out. And it is always an honor for me to be by their side. And you would have been so proud, each one of you in this room, to see people's commitment. We had the superintendent and we had the principal that met in the auditorium, meeting with the 9th graders, the 10th graders, the 11th graders, the 12th graders, and reassuring them that our job is to keep them safe and to educate them. We had Cambridge Health Alliance with Claude, who's the public health commissioner, and many people in this room mobilize to give the community what they needed in their time of need. And it was a very proud moment in the midst of what seemed like an incomprehensible loss. The third sign, I wrote a memoir on my mother's suicide. She died when I was 4 years old. And one of the reasons I wrote it was to have a vehicle to be able to educate people about suicide, some people who may never come into a therapist's office, and to be creative about outreach, and to provide not a manual but a roadmap about how you go through loss and my understanding of child development. So one of the things I did was NPR does these shows where they have call-ins. And so it was up in Minnesota, some upstate part of Minnesota, and it was a call-in, and you have 2 minutes to come up with a response. And any of you who know therapists, we have hours to think about what we want to say. And so this older gentleman calls in and he says, "I've been planning my demise." Say, well, there are 2 ways of demise. There's the demise of medical illness where you can foresee that you're going to die. And then in older folks, sometimes there's depression. And what you need to know is that mental illness is treatable and you deserve to get care. And then the radio just fades out the way they fade out, and he's gone. And I felt really devastated. I thought, one of the jobs of a doc, they say in the job description, is do no harm. And I thought, what happened to this person? I was really worried about that. And the next couple of days I was thinking about it, and again, anybody who knows me knows that one of the ways I do that is I put my sneakers on, I go out running. And I said, I just want to know that he's okay, but there was no way of finding it out. I come back from my run, and I open up my email, and there's an email from his wife. She says, "You may not remember that my husband talked with you, but he called in, and a family friend heard him and called me and said, 'I'm worried that your husband is suicidal.'" And she went to the office. She asked him if he was suicidal. He said he had been planning on killing himself that day. And she hospitalized him. And they worked with the medications where he'd had a reaction to the medication. And she said, "I wanted to tell you that you saved my husband's life." So that was a sign. Every day I have affirmations. Affirmations from the students who are brave enough, as you saw, brave enough to confront the demons, to come to a school-based health center and get the care so that they can move forward. Every day, I have the option of working with child fellows and child psychiatrists and wonderful nurses and pediatricians that we work collaboratively. And with my child psychiatrists, I hope that I instill in them the passion to be in schools because that's where the children are. And I get the opportunity to work with educators like Robin and teachers and hear about the times when something we've done has made a difference and turned a student around. And that is such satisfaction and joy. So, when you go home tonight, and after you've finished watching the Bruins, I want you to ask yourself, do you have the opportunity to have meaning in your life and to have the kind of affirmations that let you know that you're on the right path? Because I have had that. I've had that over 20 years of working at Cambridge Health Alliance. And I've certainly had it tonight with this Art of Healing Award. Thank you.